News Weekly. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Batman News Weekly. This is episode 188 in year 4. And are there troubles on the horizon for DC, Clay, in the forms of a writer's strike? Because I have to say, this has scarred me. The last time there was a writer's strike, we got Transformers 2. And that movie is fucking hot garbage.
I had said in the Discord that the last time the strike took place, I lost one of my favorite shows at the time, which was Heroes. Of course, it had Hayden Panettiere. It had
that Asian actor that got pretty big after that for a bit.
Yeah, and then it had freaking oh my god, the dude that got super famous from the Star Trek movies afterward. I think no. The one who ended up playing Spock.
He wanted to say Adam Driver, but it's not Adam Driver.
No, he ended up getting I think it's like Zachary something. He ended up being
Quinto?
Yes,
Yeah,
Zachary
okay.
Quinto.
Yeah.
He was like one of the greatest villains written on television at the time. And then of course he went to Star Trek. Dude, this strike is going to be crazy with the amount of things that are already rolling as far as our new DCU, and of course the monster that is already the MCU. For those of you who are not informed, I have some articles here that I will be referencing, but the WGA, the Writers Guild of America, voted, I believe it was 3 days ago, as the time we were recording this, to go on strike eventually. It's not a, hey, we're going on strike today, we're not going on strike like next week. The WGA and I believe it is the Alliance of Motion Pictures are in negotiations until May 1st. If negotiations do not go through and they don't settle on something, then on May 1st, the WGA will go on strike. It was just to put the numbers out there for you guys. The whole entire guild went on a vote, which was I will say 78% of the WGA voted this time around. 9,218 members were the total votes. 9,020 decided to go on strike, while only 198 decided to not go on strike. This was a gigantic margin of 97.8% voted yes to go on strike.
I'd be curious of the age differences. Like if it's like old Hollywood's like, we're good enough, we don't need more.
And I do have the bullet points of like what they're asking for, and we'll go into that later. But the fact that like we were talking just about like what happened the last strike, right?
Yeah.
The last strike lasted 100 days.
Yeah.
And it pushed projects like back. It delayed projects for about 6 months. So to put things in perspective, a TV production is anywhere from 6 to 9 months regularly.
Yeah.
That delay made one season of production an entire year.
Yeah.
That is insane.
I read something along the lines of it cost them like $6.8 billion or something last time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Southern California lost about $6 billion in revenue to the fact that there was no productions moving forward during that time, during the strike, which is absolutely insane. Now, I would say this is going to hurt more because since then we have now the established studios in Georgia. Famously, it's the when you watch the movie you see the Georgia peach, right? Like that is the studios that have become very pronounced since the last strike, and so it's going to be hurting two different parts of the economy. So this is going to be a big one. I think this is going to hurt a lot. The reason why we're talking about it now is because James Gunn just I think finished his first draft, which is also a topic that we will be talking about. His first draft of Superman Legacy.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of moving parts in the DCU kind of already snowballing. That snowball literally stops if the writer strike goes through.
Yeah.
So we could be seeing, like, as much as we were really excited for a 2025 release of Superman and quite possibly other DCU projects, it's quite possible now that that doesn't happen until 2026.
Yeah, that would suck. Although, I mean, luckily, I don't think it'll affect Superman, because James Gunn has already came out and said, or there was reports that they're going to start filming in January. So even if this writer's strike were to hold out for the next 6 months, that it still wouldn't be January.
Yeah.
So they're probably already planning for that. They're like, yo, there might be a strike. James Gunn's writing. I doubt James Gunn, obviously, he's probably got a shitload of money. You know, he probably wipes his ass with dollar bills. So, like, he is going to keep writing, I think. I think he knows that he's like, no, I want to make this amazing universe. Like, even if we're on a writer's strike, I'm not going to stop writing. Like, I'll just keep working on my other projects. Like, James Gunn is not somebody that needs to stop to, like, oh man, I need to take a project somewhere because I'm, living paycheck to paycheck. You know what I mean? So when you have that luxury, you can just keep working, right? Like, it doesn't matter. I mean, we see, like, I mean, in our sphere nowadays, it's like YouTubers, right? Like, YouTubers will take months off at a time, like 6 months, and then come back and they're like, oh yeah, and they're still fine. They're good. Nothing matters.
But here's the thing also. I am pretty sure I would have to see. I wonder if there's a list of WGA members. I am pretty sure Tom King is a part of that guild.
Wouldn't surprise me. His mom's in the industry. So, I wouldn't surprise me if he's got a high respect for that as well. So he'll probably listen to it as well, unless, but I also feel like Tom King is also, because here's the thing. I think the way the guild works, it doesn't mean like stop doing everything you're doing. I think it just means like, hey, you're not going to report to anybody. You're not going to listen to anybody. You're not going to meet your deadlines because we're going on strike. That doesn't mean you stop working. I think creatives always work. Like, I'm pretty sure Tom King would keep writing his comic. Well, I mean, I think DC is separate from that, obviously. He'll still be writing comics, and I'm pretty sure he'll be like, I got time. Like, because here's the thing. From what I've read and what I've heard is Tom King is like a schedule machine when he comes to writing comics. So I don't think he would want to get off his schedule, no matter if there's a strike or not. He would just keep working, but he's not turning anything in, It's like, all right, there's no deadlines. And I would do the same thing because, I've been doing a schedule for the last few months now, trying to like stay above and in front of things. And I'm just like, damn, I got to really keep doing that or I'm just going to fall off. And I think that's just how everybody works. That's at least successful or is very consistent with things, right? Yeah. So, I don't think they would stop working. I just don't think they'd be turning anything in. So that's kind of how I see it, at least. Because that would, like, just imagine it. Hollywood isn't going to take I feel like Hollywood would be like, okay, y'all been off for 6 months. We're not going to give you another 6 months to keep writing. Like, we want this shit fucking 2 weeks from now. You know what I mean? I feel like that'll be the thing. So I think a lot of writers will just keep writing. They're just not going to turn anything in. That way, when it is time, they're like, oh, I'm done. So, like, give me my money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I mean, we'll see what happens. I just remember all the fucking shitty films we got from that 6-month writer's strike. And a lot of people will say like, well, they can't film something in 6 months. It's like, no, they tried to hire other people to get stuff done because not everybody's in the guild.
Yeah. And I hear a lot of people joking around that are like, oh, this is my time to shine. I can jump into Hollywood when everybody else is on strike. And that's essentially what happened back in 2007. One of the big things that is more of like something that we see that is more common now, but wasn't back then. And the reason why Transformers 2 sucked ass was the fact that Hollywood basically told their directors, hey, you need to start writing scripts.
Yeah.
And that is what has, like, again, it's become a little bit more of the norm now because people have become a little bit more experienced with it. But back then, it was not something that they were prominent to
Hmm.
when working with a director and a writer combo type thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it was wild, man. If you have not seen Transformers 2 in a long time, go watch that film. It is fucking garbage. The mom gets high. I think that's the one where the Transformer has balls, like dick and balls and shit. Like
Yeah.
it is like a teenager wrote that film. Like it is fucking awful. And it's probably why Megan Fox was like, I'm out after that. She went on to do so many other bad movies that probably were written in the same era because
Yeah.
Jonah Hex came out around that time. I think that was
Yeah.
awful. Although Jennifer's Body became a cult classic, which is crazy.
Yeah, I've recently seen that. Like, a lot of
Yeah,
people now love it. I'm just like, that's
it's
a weird take.
it's super cult classic-y, which is crazy. I feel like Scott Pilgrim was the same way though. Like I don't think a lot of people saw Scott Pilgrim in theaters. I did. I thought it was fucking
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
But people love that film now.
That soundtrack, dude.
The soundtrack's amazing. Yeah. I mean, it's Edgar Wright though. I mean, Edgar Wright is great. So pretty crazy stuff. But anyways, so yeah, of course this happens when DC's relaunching. Is all I gotta say. Like, of course. We cannot catch a fucking break. Like
It absolutely sucks because, I mean, I think you're right when it comes to somebody like a James Gunn, who of course is the head of DC Studios and does have a very large history in writing his own scripts. I think he is he is a writing machine, and so
mhm.
he will just keep going. I'm curious to see how his writers' room, his table, that we have heard, of course, the I know Christina Hodges, Tom King, I can't remember the other. I think there's 2 or 3 others on in that writers room, but I'm curious on how much that puts them in a bind.
Yeah.
So it does look like, and I do feel like there will be immediate changes to the schedule of what we saw for the DCU's first chapter.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. But I also feel like some of these projects are probably already in the works, like Creature Commandos. I'm pretty sure the animation on that's already started. Have we got a confirmation if Creature Commandos is going to be like 3D or 2D? Because
I
James Gunn
don't
said
believe
2D
so.
is coming back, right?
Yes, he did say
Yeah.
that uh, animation will be both 3D and 2D animation.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I don't know. Let's hope that there's no strike because one, as creatives ourselves, we would not I mean, we want creatives to get paid well, right? And I know a
Yes,
lot of
yes,
the rights, I think you have the list there. It's about a lot of stuff regarding streaming essentially, right? Because they're not getting
yes,
paid properly for streaming and all that shit.
yeah. It was a big thing when it came to, let's see here, uh, uh, a lot of it was the primary work areas were screen, episodic television, and comedy variety
Yeah.
was like the big hitters, which are ironically the big hitters of streaming. Um, but just so everybody knows, and as I said, it wasn't an immediate strike. The strike will start if negotiations do not come to a head by May 1st.
Yeah.
So as of us recording today, they have 10 days to figure something out. And I don't know if they negotiate on the weekend, so it could be even shorter than that.
Yeah.
Um, so we will see how all that goes. Some of the things that are on the list of their demands: increase minimum compensation significantly to address the devaluation of writers in all areas of television, new media, and features; standardized compensation and residual terms for features, whether released theatrically or on streaming. That's another big one, like
Mhm.
you said. Just some other ones in here: increased residual for undercompensated reuse markets, restrict uncompensated use of excerpts. There was some pension plans and health fund stuff as well, as professional standards and protection in the employment of writers, such as strengthen regulation of options and exclusivity in TV writers' employment contracts. There was one here that was like address the abuse of mini rooms. Like that's weird. Apparently, writers have like very limited space and kind of like constrict them to like basically like being in a closet. Like, hey, you're gonna
Yeah.
fix this script and you're not allowed to leave this tiny ass room until you do, type of thing.
Yeah.
And that's just fucking weird.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you want a writer to write in their like comfort zone?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. But I also feel like writers' rooms would probably get annoying to me at some point. I've never really tried to work with a bunch of people like that before. And it's also like at the end of the day, I'm kind of like, I feel like James Gunn is at his house writing with his fucking wife and his dog. You know what I mean? I doubt he's in a fucking office or a writer's room. I doubt it, but could be wrong. And I think he probably just hits up everybody, be like, yo. But speaking of that, so let's jump over to the powers that James Gunn has as a CEO, because I don't want to say it was making waves, but people were definitely talking about it. And I do want to say it does seem like it was a certain group of people that were upset about it. But I don't know, maybe it's just my logical brain here, but I kind of assumed that's what he was doing anyways. So, but yeah, so I believe, if I'm not mistaken, how did this come about? It was Superman Day recently, right? Or the anniversary of Superman?
It was the anniversary of Superman. The going back on the thread and kind of looking at how this all started, he posted the picture of his script saying,
Yes.
and I'm honored to be a part of the legacy, and what better day than on Superman Anniversary Day to dive fully into the early pre-production on Superman Legacy. Costumes, production design, and more now up and running. So any and all rumors that you had heard about Superman Legacy, they were all false. Now, at least, if there is inklings of something, you could say there is a pinch of salt to it.
Yeah.
Now that everything is now up and running. So somebody randomly asked James Gunn on this post, curious if WB gave you notes and how did you receive them? He said, no, WB wouldn't be giving me notes on a DC Studios production since we came on board. We're two separate entities within WB Discovery.
Yeah.
And then somebody, I'm trying to see if they are, in fact, a part of the cult.
Yeah.
I clicked on their account. Nothing really shows that they are, but they do have a profile picture with like the red eyes. And I'm just like, oh, that's a little eye rolling. But he asks, then who at DC gives you notes? Which I think is a valid question.
Yeah.
Like, hey, like you can't say that you are perfect at everything. I think everybody needs some sort of feedback in some sorts. So James Gunn does say, it's interesting to see the numerous responses to my answer here about how notes work in Hollywood. From when I began writing, I have given my scripts and stories to many different trusted parties for quote unquote notes. Listening to constructive criticism is the lifeblood of any writer, like we just said. So he does go on to a little bit of a thread here saying, so as the head of DC Studios, I give the script to people I trust, like my exec, Chantel Nong, or DC Comics writer Tom King, and get their thoughts about what works well and what could work better so I can improve my script. To paraphrase Stephen King, first draft door closed, second draft door open. Writing is communication, so this is important. All that said, I've never, as a director, been given notes I was ordered to take. Not from the Universal, not from Universal on Slither, from Marvel on Guardians films, nothing. I've always tried to take the notes that will actually make the film better, and I argue about the ones I think won't work, which I think is very important. James then goes on to say, this process has worked for me because I have been blessed in the partners I've chosen to work with. We are all moving towards one thing, making the movie better. And I can put my ego aside and be open when I need to be and convincing when I need to be. He, as his last part of this, he says, I know this is not the case for everyone, And it wasn't always the case for me as a writer. Again, I am blessed in this way, but that's how notes work. And I'm not going to suddenly stop taking them because I'm not, because I'm the head of a studio.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I feel like, so as I get older and as I try to learn more and more about the industry or just anything I'm in, you start to learn, I should say, to start separating who you're getting information from or different people's opinions. I don't know if you feel the same way about this, but like I have noticed that I will put somebody's opinions or critiques if they are also like maybe in the industry or trying to be like a writer themselves or something like that. I'll put their opinions at slightly higher elevated than somebody that just watches content, right? Because I think that people that are trying to do it themselves go out and research and learn and try to become writers, right? Where everybody else thinks like, oh, they should have just did this or they should have just did that. Anybody can say that, right? Like anybody could be like, they should have done this, or like, oh, I heard this guy on YouTube say this and they should have actually done that because it would have been a better story or whatever, right? But sitting your ass in a chair and actually trying to write a comic book, trying to write a novel, trying to write a movie is so fucking different. And it's a different experience. And so Clay can speak from experience here. I have given out my scripts for people to read because I am also kind of like, hey, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm perfect. Like I want to see what other people think. And I like to give my scripts to a variety of people. I've given it to some friends that don't even like comics. And I'm like, what do you think about this? I just need to know your true opinion. Are you not interested in it? Whatever. I've given it to people that I know love comics. And I give it to people that I'm just like, they might be into comics, but I don't know. Maybe this would get them into it, you know? And I try to get everybody's feedback because I want to know if it's good or not. You know what I mean? Because I think it's a catch-22 when you give it to just friends, right? Or just people that you know are going to like things, because it's like, well, you're not going to help me. Like I need somebody that's going to tell me if it sucks or not, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's what I need. And so with James Gunn here, I think he does the same thing, right? He goes and gives it to established people that have also been in the industry or that he knows, like he said, that he can trust, right? And trust doesn't mean like fucking blow smoke up your ass. It just means like these people will tell me the honest truth and they'll let me know like, hey, it's 90% good. That this 10% kind of blows. Like I don't like what you did with Lois Lane, or I don't like what Superman shouldn't do that or whatever. And as Gunn said, that's when you get into an area where you take in the criticism, but that's when you have to decide as a creator, well, does it benefit the story? And is that legitimate criticism, And that's what I do. Like my thing is, because I know a lot of people on Discord will argue with me when it comes to shit or whatever, and I have no problem talking to certain people, right? As long as you're bringing me like solid information and solid facts, I will genuinely consider your stance. I'm like, that's a fair point. Like that's a good thing. And I can see that perspective. But if you're just talking out of your ass, you're like, oh, that movie wasn't good. I'm like, okay, well, why wasn't it good? Just because I didn't like it. That's just your fucking opinion. You're not giving me an actual fucking stance. Like, it wasn't good because there was plot holes. It wasn't good because the CGI was garbage. Like, granted, I do think CGI debates are kind of dumb because I think CGI is kind of regressing a lot in Hollywood. Like they're not really taking their time to do it anymore. So I don't think those debates are really fair. But for the most part, yeah. I mean, if you're bringing a genuine criticism and genuine like conversation, I will always be open to your perspective. And also, if you're not being a douche, like some people go straight to the insults, like, "Oh, you're a fucking idiot." That's Twitter. Twitter automatically idiot insult the first thing. I'm like, all right, well, mute. You're not. I'm not gonna waste time on you. But yeah, I think this is smart. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, just because he's the boss, he doesn't need to take notes. Like yada yada yada. Go look at every other famous fucking writer. You think they're taking notes? You think Alan Moore was fucking taking notes from anybody? Highly fucking doubt it.
Hell no. Hell no.
And you think fucking like any like manga artist, you think they're taking, or not mangaka, I should say, that's writing and drawing is taking notes anymore? Like they're just not doing it. Like no, I've done it. At the start it should.
I wanted to bring up something that was going on in the Discord. Raphael brought up this thread as well, and brought up the fact that Gunn shouted out his exec executive as well as Tom King, and he was
Yeah.
like, I feel like he's kind of throwing them under the bus, and you said, no, it's not exactly like that. And I could
Yeah.
see kind of that mentality of being
Mhm.
like, oh, James Gunn is throwing these two names out, so if it does suck, you can throw the blame on these two people, not on James Gunn. I can
Yeah.
totally see how somebody could twist those words. But Raphael's discourse was, while I appreciate the intent, it seems to me that he is overexposing King too much. What I'm saying here is that if there is an alleged case that the movie doesn't do well, people will go for the easy way in saying that it failed because of King. You brought up a really good point,
Mhm.
that the general audience, not comic book fans, not movie fans,
Mhm.
but the general audience that literally just goes to see these movies because superheroes are on the screen and they want to enjoy a good time or a good movie, they don't look at the credits.
Yeah.
Those are the people that always get up at the start of the credits in a Marvel movie.
Mhm.
Or, now that, post-credit scenes have been ingrained into our brains, the general audience, they could care less about that stuff, right?
Yeah.
They don't see who wrote this movie, who was the producer on this movie, all of these other credits. They don't care about that.
Yeah.
So the idea of people blaming King is very, very minute.
Yeah.
More so, people would blame a director. Of
Yeah.
course, famously, Zack Snyder. A lot of people just put the blame on Zack Snyder for a lot of things.
Mhm.
There is a lot of moving parts. Of course, Zack
Yeah.
Snyder was a big part of putting his ideas onto paper, but there's a lot of moving parts with that as well. And I don't think Zack is the number one person to blame
Yeah.
for those reasons. Raphael then said, I have not said that they were. However, King is a writer who is in bad streak on the internet. And although maybe it's not the majority, I assure you that there will be groups that will say very loudly that it failed because of him. And we brought up a very good point
Mhm.
in like King and James have this very weird like relationship that they both have been like, they have both been canceled
Yeah.
in some groups of individuals,
Mhm.
whether that be comic book fans, whether that be movie fans or whatnot. They have this, and I think that helps them in being like, hey, we're not going to take shit from the people who already hate us.
Yeah.
Let's take the actual criticism type of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to work better for them for sure.
Yeah. As somebody who has been mini canceled before, I
On
think,
TikTok.
yeah, on TikTok, it changes your perspective. It makes you think about like, okay, why are these people for a while? You're like, damn, like, did I fuck up? Did I do this? And what can happen is when it happened to me, I started talking to my friends about the whole situation and people in that community. And I was just like, hey, tell me, how did this go? Like, did I do it wrong? Did I fuck up? And they were like, you could have approached it better, but X and X and this. And then I tried to do what they tell you should do. And I'm like, all right, let's see what happens. And I still got shit on. It didn't fucking matter. Like, I tried to do everything properly, and they're still like, go kill yourself, fuck you. And I'm just like, holy shit. And so you just think about it, and you're just like, why waste the time? I can now it's sad that I understand this point of view now, but when people get canceled, I understand why they don't give a fuck anymore. Because it doesn't matter what you do. And I understand why some people don't even try to benefit because they're like, it's not going to matter. Because for the rest of time, you're going to see me as that bad person in that one moment. And that's
Yeah.
how people see James Gunn. They see him as his 10-year-old tweets. It's probably like 12, 15 years old now.
Very weird. Like the phrasing "forgive and forget" is non-existent in 2020 and
Oh, yeah.
moving forward.
Yeah.
It like, because the whole thing, I know this is completely off topic. We were very briefly talking about it. The whole thing with Jonathan Majors.
Yeah.
Like, if it comes out that he is in fact innocent,
Mhm.
people won't care
Yeah.
because he has been dragged through the mud recently with everything that's been going on. People have dropped him and all sorts of stuff. Like, he will always be known as the person who was accused of beating up his ex-girlfriend.
Yeah. And the thing is sucks is also, as a man, you don't get the benefit of the doubt. like you are automatically put in the corner and you have to fight tooth and nail to come out. You have to get to Johnny Depp levels of stardom and have your shit broadcast sometimes to kind of showcase that you aren't the villain that you were painted to be. Granted, Johnny Depp isn't perfect. Some shit got revealed about him too, but it wasn't as like projected as the way it was originally, portrayed, right? So like, yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like people are always they're gonna have this picture of you. Like a lot of people think Snyder is just completely garbage, right? When it comes to Zack Snyder. I
Yeah.
liked genuinely some of his films. Like that is not a lie. I just don't like what it became after Justice League. I don't like the fandom. I don't like how he doesn't, to stray away from it. I've said it a million times, but I've always said cinematically, I think fucking Zack Snyder is one of the best. If you could just put him behind a camera and he's not directing, I think he'd be phenomenal. But I don't know. So like, yeah, people are always going to have these impressions of you, and that's why unfortunately you have to separate some people, right? You want everybody to be equal. Like that's what the perfect world would be, but people's opinions and ideas push them up or push them down in different people's minds, right? Like it's just the truth. And if somebody is constantly saying like, "Oh, everything sucks. I fucking hate everything. I don't," that guy, nobody cares about that guy. Nobody wants to talk to that guy or even hang out with that guy because it's like
Yeah.
we can't even have fun. You fucking hate everything. Get out of here, James. Nobody cares. And it's just like, damn. Um, but yeah, so I don't know, man. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But I had mentioned it to Raphael there that like, yeah, people are just gonna hate Tom King no matter what. Like we've said it a million times. Your analogy is he's the Ryan Johnson of comic books. You either
Yeah.
love him or you hate him. And we'll see what happens. But I don't think Tom King, as much as I love Tom King and I'm a fucking Tom King stan, he is nowhere near the level of James Gunn. James
Yeah.
Gunn will thump him 10 out of 10 times in hatred and popularity, to be honest. So yeah, I didn't really agree with that whole thing. But moving on from the James Gunn stuff to other powerful Marvel directors, a lot of shit came out about the Russo brothers this past week, and I'm just like, I don't know about it. Apparently they were, what were they doing an interview for? But they mentioned they were like, oh, I wouldn't mind directing Batman.
So, from what I know recently, that I don't know where it originally came from. I'll be completely honest in saying that I don't know where they had to address,
Mm-hmm.
like, because of course they addressed it, but where it
Yeah.
came from originally. Um, I think it was from. I actually have the old. It came from Murphy's Multiverse was the first initial um article that talked about them being interested, being
Yeah.
like, hey, we would love to do this. Um, but I don't know if it was a exact interview. It says here that they were busy doing a whole bunch of stuff. Recently, they have been doing a lot of non-MCU stuff since
Yeah.
Endgame. They have not touched any Marvel series or movies. They're actually, I think they're in interviews for Amazon series called Citadel. That's what it was for.
Mm.
And the question came up if they would be interested in working with um, James Gunn over at DC Studios. And it says here, obviously James over there is over there running it. It would be a no-brainer. We would love him. We love him to death. We love the direction he's going to take in the world. He's going to be inventive with it. And favorite DC characters? I mean, man, there are so many good ones. I always answered based on the comics I collected as a kid, and the two comics I collected most were Spider-Man, and actually there was three: Spider-Man, X-Men, and Batman.
Mm-hmm.
So he obviously would love to work with Batman. And so now they have addressed in I believe, CBR article, uh, basically saying, hey, guys, don't worry. We're not directing Batman.
Yeah.
It was just a question, and they answered
Mm-hmm.
a question. That was basically it, and people don't need to freak out about it.
Yeah, it's like if I was like, yeah, I want to write Batman one day, and everybody just automatically believed it. They're like, oh no, Juice is gonna write Batman. That guy fucking hates everything. You know what I mean? Like that's how it would be. But yeah, I don't know how you would feel about the Russos. I love Winter Soldier, but I just don't know if they could handle Batman
So
correctly.
so here's the thing. Like, yes, of course, I would think that for their comic book stuff, you have to look at their comic book stuff in relation to Batman.
Yeah.
But in relation to Batman, I think you have to look at their non MCU stuff to see what other elements that they could bring to the table. They did, of course, I can't remember the name of it, but they recently did like a spy movie with Chris Evans and oh man, who was the other
I don't know what movie that is.
it was the
With Chris
Jean-Paul.
Evans?
Yeah, it was a Netflix movie that they did.
I don't know.
I can't it was The Gray Man, I think it was. Yes, it was The
Gray
Gray
they're
Man.
doing The Gray Man too, right? Like,
Yes,
isn't
they
that,
they did The Gray Man. They're doing The Gray Man too. Some people have said that The Gray Man was not very good.
Yeah.
There is a Netflix movie as well with Chris Hemsworth called The Expansion, or it's a military movie where basically think of like, I would say maybe what is think of not Rambo on steroids, but like think of a Rambo-esque type movie with Chris Hemsworth. Almost like Tom Clancy meets Rambo type of thing. I thought that movie was very good. I know maybe one or two people that didn't like it, but they're making a second movie of that. So the Russos, I think, have a good enough name and big enough movies to basically pick any movie that they would want to do with the big studio.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I would choose Batman for them to be in the DC universe.
So the reason why I wouldn't look at their other stuff, Clay, is because I don't want fucking realistic Batman anymore. So anything outside of a comic book movie, I don't fucking care. So
true.
And Winter Soldier is like their most realistic / comic booky movie. Yeah. And I was like, that is the perfect example of what they can do. But I need it to be more comic booky than Winter Soldier, but not as comic booky as Infinity War or, you know, whatever. Because I will die on the hill that I don't remember shit from Infinity War before the snap. Like, there's just nothing that's in that movie that I remember. It's just a snap and that's it. Endgame, awesome. I remember a shitload from Endgame because it's so epic, right? Nobody like shows stuff from Infinity War, right? Everything on Twitter is always like, Cap on your left and fucking all the other shit.
Well, I will say this. I think the number one thing that people usually show from Infinity War is the fight between Doctor Strange and Thanos, which is like the insane, like reality bending type of stuff. Doctor Strange
when he has like 20 arms.
Yeah, he goes all Naruto, the Shadow Clone jutsus and all of that stuff. Like, that's a scene that I see.
Never see that. That's
like
weird.
I see it once a month. Really,
the one thing I see all the time is just the one finger. I see that, but that's Endgame, right?
Yeah, that's Endgame.
Yeah, that's Endgame, and the snap, obviously.
Yeah.
I never see anything. I just see this. I just see everybody disintegrating because they use it as a meme, right?
Yeah.
They're like, somebody says something stupid, and
I don't feel so good, Mr. Stark.
Yeah. That's all I remember from that movie. Endgame's amazing, you know? So, like, I will say that as much as, like, I don't care about the MCU anymore, seeing Cap grab the fucking Thor's hammer is one of the best comic book scenes ever, you know? Like, everybody freaked out in the theater. Like, it was amazing. Like, as much as I'm a DC stan and everything, that was a great comic book moment. But yeah, so like, the Russos, I would not want them to touch Batman. I would be 100% on board Green Arrow. Because they could do Goofy. They could do Goofy.
I would totally be okay with that.
Yeah.
I would be okay with that.
Give the Russos Green Arrow because they could do boxing glove Arrow.
Or what And I think it's getting a little crazy if you expand the universe. I think eventually they will, but not Teen Titans, but Titans. What do you think?
I mean, nothing could be worse than the show, right? So I don't know what the fuck they're doing over there right now, but yeah, I'd be down. I just think Green Arrow would be amazing. I want to see a Green Arrow movie. Like that's all I
I
want.
do. I definitely do. I've been calling for it for so long. I had predicted before we even started Batman News Weekly that if they wanted to reboot DC, then they should start with a list of characters that involve Green Arrow.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
For
Green
sure.
Arrow would be great. Because like I don't know, he can be a funny Batman if he wanted to. You know what I mean?
I think he could be as charismatic as Superman, but as inventive and somewhat threatening as Batman.
Yeah. Yeah, because like Hawkeye, I feel like they didn't do enough with him. Like bow and arrow guys are cool. Like every time I get a bow and arrow in a video game, that's my weapon of choice. I love a bow and arrow. Because just seeing an arrow go into somebody's head and they fall, I'm like, that's awesome. You know what I mean? A bullet goes straight through. An arrow just sticks there, and you're just like, yeah, that's my mark. So like Tomb Raider and shit, I love those kind of games. I mean, a fucking not Breath of the Wild, Horizon Zero Dawn. Like, such good fucking games. So I love me a bow and arrow, so I definitely want to see some Green Arrow on screen. Do you think James Gunn basically recasts all of Birds of Prey?
I think he will.
Yeah.
I think if anybody has the chance to stay, I think it's freaking
Smollett?
No, I think it's what's her name from Huntress, who played Huntress.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm curious though, because like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of them would be recast. I could see Huntress as being what's her face from Guardians, the green one.
Zoe Saldana. Well,
yeah.
One thing that I wanted to bring into here, but there wasn't really enough information to really bring it as a topic. We know that James has talked about the idea of bringing in his fellow MCU co-workers into the DCU. And I've seen a lot recently of people focusing on Zoe Saldana. And the potential characters that she could play in the future. I would love her as Black Canary. A lot of people have fan casted her as Hawk Girl as well. I think she would be a pretty cool Hawk Girl as well. But I think that is more interesting of a conversation when we get a little bit more info on them actually being a part of the DCU. As in like, oh, James has confirmed that these people will be on a project. We just don't know who they will be. But yeah.
Booster Gold, Chris Pratt, right? I mean, after Mario, he's like,
well, and that's the thing.
You know?
After our last episode, it has been confirmed by Gunn that was fake. That the Aaron Paul news that we had talked about was wild. He did confirm that there was no talks. He's like, as much as I love Breaking Bad and I love Aaron, that is not our choice for Booster Gold. So
would have been so wild. But I still think him and fucking Mr. White would have been crazy as a duo.
Oh man. But the question that I wanted to ask you with the Russo brothers, I know that we talked about just now, like what we would want them to be as far as directors in the DCU. What other MCU directors would you consider to at least take a project in the DCU?
Not gonna lie to you, Clay. There's not that many people I know that directed MCU films because I feel like they constantly get a lot of directors that they can, I don't want to say push around, but that will get in line. You know what I mean?
Ooh, okay.
Because it ain't gonna be Taika. Fuck that. I don't want Taika anywhere near the DCU. He could be in a film. He already died, if I'm not mistaken, in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. I'm cool with that. I don't need him directing anything. Because it's just, I don't want that kind of comedy and whatnot in DC. Because I absolutely hate Thor 3. So Who else is there?
I would say
not
there
Joss
is...
Whedon. Fuck him.
No. Ryan Coogler, director of Black Panther.
Okay, here's the question. I think the Black Panther films, I never saw the second one. The first one, minus the CGI, I thought was good.
Yes.
Are we gonna, like, I'd want to see him do something different. I don't want him to put him in the box of, like, let's give him a black superhero, you know?
I would honestly give Coogler a team up.
Yeah,
just to see
he
what he could
works
do
well,
with
apparently.
Yeah. I have not seen Creed.
Mhm.
So I haven't seen Coogler outside of comic book films.
Okay.
So I would really like to see him do something with a team with a vast of characters.
Give him a Wildcat?
Yeah,
The boxer?
Wildcat. Yeah.
Yeah. If they want to do a boxing film, right?
Yeah.
So that's how we get Michael B. Jordan into the DCU is Creed fights Wildcat. That's how we do it.
And then another director that wasn't necessarily playing ball, so I think this is right up your alley, Scott Derrickson.
Scott Derrickson, what did he direct?
He directed the first Doctor Strange movie. He is a horror actor, or horror director. Of course, most famously for Deliver Us from Evil, Hellraiser, Sinister, The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
If we're going with directors that aren't playing ball, then I would go oh my god, fucking Scott's Pilgrim director. Edgar Wright.
Oh, Edgar Wright, yeah.
Because he did Ant-Man. Yeah. And the thing is if you ever watch Ant-Man, you know half of it feels like an Edgar Wright film, and then the other ones don't. And the other half doesn't.
The one thing that I was most disappointed in when he was announced as the director for Ant-Man, and then watching the movie, the footage of the test footage for Ant-Man very much felt like Edgar Wright. Like it was so cool, and there was like stuff with the camera that was really, really fun for the leaked test footage that was in San Diego Comic-Con. And then you see the movie, and it's like that's what happened to all of Edgar Wright's stuff.
Yeah, there was definitely moments where there was supposed to be really cool transitions. You can tell because like if you watch Scott Pilgrim has the best transitions. Like they're so good. And I'm pretty sure Ant-Man was going to have something like that. And I think they were just like, you're a little too out of pocket for us. Like you need to switch things up. And he was like, no. And then he left. And I respect that. I respect leaving over creative differences. That is totally fine. But it's not like it hurt him at all either. If anything, he got more respect out of it. Because like, oh, you didn't play ball. You stuck to your guns. I'm down with that. So yeah, pretty crazy stuff. But yeah, I would... Honestly, man, that's the one thing I will say about MCU movies. You don't know the directors that well. Like the Russo brothers did the biggest things, obviously. Joss Whedon, he did the first Avengers. But everybody else, like I couldn't tell you who did, what is it? The 10 Rings movie. That one. I don't know who did that. I don't know who did like fucking, I think, did Patty Jenkins do one of the Thors or she leave too?
She was supposed to do Thor: The Dark World.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that did the Thor movies besides Taika. I don't know who did the first two Captain Americas. Like I don't know that.
All I know, I can't remember his name, but the person who directed the first Captain America. The person who directed the first Captain America was the same person who directed The Rocketeer.
Okay.
So like the similarities are very, very you can see him on screen for sure. So I'm like, yeah, I totally get the decision on that one. But yeah, my choice would definitely be Scott Derrickson because I think like you give him Deadman, you give him Constantine, you give him some of the weird stuff out there in the DC universe, he would do great in it.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, all right. Anyways, moving on from that, we got the Russo brothers that also, I mean, we talked about it on the last podcast for just to close out the Brave and the Bold thing. I mean, I think I just want Muschietti now, honestly. That's just what I want. I'm just like, that's good. And then what's his name for Authorities? I think two solid shouts there. We'll see. Let's see. It says, and then as Clay, if you're in the Discord, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys want to know the topics we're going to talk about in advance, I would highly suggest joining the Discord. But some of you might be curious on, you guys are going to talk about the Flash stuff. I don't know what the Flash stuff is because I don't want to know what the Flash stuff is. Clay knows what it is. I accidentally unfollowed Clay on Twitter because he was like, hey, don't look at my Twitter. And I was like, that's kind of hard to do, Clay. Elon Musk is like, here's your followers in your fucking face now. So I was just like, the first thing I go to Twitter, sees Clay response to somebody, and I just hit unfollow and mute. I'm just like, oh, fuck. And so I didn't see anything. And yeah, so I don't know what's going on here. And we're not going to talk about it because I don't need spoilers.
All I will say, and this is not a spoiler or anything else, there is rumors of something happening to the Flash character.
Mm-hmm.
Just know that rumor that is spreading like wildfire is not true. Is one big thing. A lot of people are freaking out because the time of we're recording this this week on Wednesday, we found out that on Tuesday the Flash screened again, which is absolutely insane because the Flash is literally being screened in like 5 days. So
at CinemaCon, right?
At CinemaCon. So I don't know why they would do a screener right before CinemaCon.
Yeah.
So I'm not entirely sure why they decided to do that, but just know that rumors, you should kind of just like throw them away. Don't even like consider them whatsoever. I think the scariest thing will be anything that comes out after the 25th.
I should mute everything Flash going forward.
I think
Twitter.
that was what I was going to suggest for anybody who doesn't want to be spoiled. I'm a conundrum. My brain is just like, I want to know everything.
Yeah.
So I will be in the know with some stuff. But I was in a brief conversation with Casey Walsh because he was trying to let everybody know, like, hey, don't freak out. This isn't true. And so I asked him about, like, how was this rumor even starting? He told me that, it screened this past Tuesday. And he's like, just know this happens at the end. And I'm like, you could have just told me the first part of that tweet.
Yeah.
But, like, didn't have to say that last part. But I don't think that it's too crazy of like a hardcore spoiler. But it can insinuate some things for people in their viewing experience. So I don't want to share it, of course.
I am the type of person that I consider it. I hate when people are like, dude, it's a fucking good film. It'll blow your mind. I'm like, fuck you. Why? Now my expectations are through the roof. And if it doesn't fucking blow my mind, I'm going to fucking hate you. Like, I hate that.
Yeah.
Or also, like, we had instances like in the Discord where people, well, I had somebody flat out spoil Last of Us 2 for me. They're like, oh yeah, this person dies. I'm just like, and that dude got blocked, banned, everything.
That.
Fuck that guy. But like, I even hate when people are like, oh, yeah, it's not what you think. And I'm like, oh, great. Now I'm going to be thinking about every possible scenario, like going forward, And granted, I am a hypocrite in this because, again, as we've talked about, we get the books a little early sometimes. And I'll be like, oh, this and that. It's just because I'm like, I can't talk to anybody, so I need to release something. I'm just like, I gotta like fucking nonchalant. So I am a hypocrite in that stance. I'm just saying I hate myself. That's what I'm trying to say here. Okay. But anyways, also random news that we don't have listed here. I saw that article, or I don't know if this was just randomly on Twitter, that obviously David Zaslav is not happy with what he's seen from Aquaman, but it wasn't as bad as what he saw from Batgirl, so that's why they scrapped Batgirl. But they screened that movie 7 times already, which is apparently insane.
I have not seen this.
Yeah, I saw it randomly on Twitter that David Zaslav was not happy with what he saw from Aquaman. So it is probably like unless that movie makes $1 billion again, it's probably like 99% chance that he's going to be Lobo and Aquaman's just going to either get recast or I don't know.
Yeah, I have a pretty big feeling that Aquaman's going to get recast for sure.
Yeah. But I'm just curious on like, it'll happen. That movie is after The Flash. So how is all I would say, And I feel like they're going to do the thing where it's just, it's cliche and corny, but they did it on Fresh Prince, and they're like, you look different, and that's it. That's all you do. And
No,
then
I honestly think that I still think that Aquaman 2 takes place at the same time as the Flash. So
I would love that.
they
That'd be cool. But
they can change at the same time.
yeah, so we'll see. But anyways, we're moving on to viewer questions, ladies and gentlemen. Starting off with the ones in the Discord because we got a couple. Is there a storyline? This is from the Ponderer. Is there any storyline from an episode of the Batman the Animated Series that you want a writer to pick up or reference in a movie? Kind of like how everyone wants Heart of Ice put in a movie. I don't want Heart of Ice unless it's going to be true to Heart of Ice.
Yeah, like I think that the phrasing of the Ponderer's question is not great in the sense of like referencing, like kind of
Yeah,
making Batman the Animated Series canon to
yeah,
whatever Batman is in the DCU. I think more so what he means is like take homage to.
yeah.
Um Honestly, I don't want Heart of Ice because I think Heart of Ice is such a good story within itself
Yeah.
that, like, of course, the way Hollywood wants to do things is like, yeah, use this as your template, and then we're gonna change a whole lot of
Hmm.
stuff with it. That's just how Hollywood is. But in this case of the question itself, um, I would say just because it's one of my favorite episodes of the Batman the animated series, I would choose two. One would either be if you're so smart, why aren't you rich?
Hmm.
Is my number one favorite episode of the Batman the animated series. It's so stupid. It's the introduction to the Riddler in the animated series, but I absolutely love it. Um, and then there's the episode with Killer Croc where he's like on the train and uh he explains to the circus people that like, oh, I'm on the run from this evil person. Basically tells these circus people that Batman is evil,
Hmm.
and they try to help him and all of this stuff. I really like that just because recently the stories that we've gotten from both Clayface and Killer Croc in comics have been really, really good, and I would love that to be transferred to what they could use for Killer Croc in the live action universe.
Yeah. Some of my favorite episodes are things I don't know would work well as a movie. I think they would work well as like if there was a Batman show, you know what I mean, like a live action show. Because I
Yeah.
love Clock King, like I love the Gray Ghost episode.
Hmm.
I love Harley's Bad Day. Like those are all just really simple, cool episodes, but I don't think they would be like movies. If I was gonna pick a movie, it would be the first two episodes of the animated series with Red Claw because she's trying to do like terroristic shit. And it also introduces Selena Kyle and Batman. They're going back and forth because they're trying to figure some stuff out. It becomes a team up movie, and they take out Red Claw. You know, they stop a terrorist attack, and also that kind of gets Batman out of Gotham. Like I like when
Yeah.
Batman is out of Gotham sometimes, so that would be also cool. But yeah, everything else like the animated series is just so good that I don't know if I would want them because you automatically have to add more to the story, right? Like you have to. And we've seen what happens when DC tries to add something to a classic story, a la Batman ends up fucking Barbara Gordon. So I don't need that happening in a bunch of other stuff. So I don't know. I don't know if I have one. I think all my movies. You know, what would be a good one that could probably be a good movie. I don't know what the name of it is, but it's like the time I almost got Batman or whatever. When they're all in the
Yeah.
poker and they're all talking about how they almost beat Batman, and then Batman shows up at the end. Like
I
it's really good.
think that would work really like it's unfortunate just because like the way that works formatically,
Hmm.
like I don't think it works in live action.
Yeah, probably
Like
not.
I think again, like with the way Gunn is going to involve a lot of animation and live action stuff via television and movies.
Yeah.
Um, I think if you want to do something like a special presentation that Marvel is doing within Disney Plus,
Hmm.
like, hey, you just do this thing that's only going to be like a 45-minute special on
Yeah.
what is now going to be known as Max, like, and you just throw that in there, just like a special, like, hey guys, like we're gonna do this. It's one of people's favorite episodes of Batman the Animated Series, and we're gonna make it almost canonically the same in the DCU. Like, I think that would be kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, you can always do like a Christmas special, you know, like
Yeah.
Batman chasing Joker on Christmas. That would be a cool Christmas episode of something.
Oh, 100%.
You know, so yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a true answer for you because I don't like people fucking with the animated series because like not too many people do it well. A lot of people like to add their own thing. And ooh, Clay, I don't know if you've read 900 yet. Woo!
I have not, but with that response, I may need to jump on it after this.
Dude, that I read it last night like at 2 a.m. I was pissed. But I will say, because I was worried about this, I also read the new Brave and the Bold book. I think I found out a way to where I could still write my Joker story without fucking up King's. So creative minds. It's called creative writing, ladies and gentlemen. You don't have to just retcon everything. But anyways, we've gotten a lot of books, a lot of shit coming out soon. But moving on from that, we have Arwitz, who is, as for my question, what style of Batmobile would you like to see in the new universe? I do not want anything like the Batman. I want it to look like a Batmobile. I am tired of things looking military-esque, fucking random-ass shit. I want a Batmobile-looking Batmobile. And what I wouldn't mind is I do enjoy the Batmobile from Tom King series that's drawn by David Finch, where it is like kind of like the animated series version, but a little bit more modernized. So I kind of like that one. I think that would be kind of cool.
Who I think it's Capullo's design that has like the bat head in the front.
That's
like
kind of David Finch's as well.
It's like the elongated, like
I think
almost
that's David Finch.
Yeah, it takes the inspiration from the Batman the Animated Series that everybody knows and loves, but it also has like its own personal touch to it. I like that one. I'm gonna be a weirdo, and I know a lot of people are not gonna like this response, but the Batman Forever,
the blue one,
the black one with like the blue ribs that it has.
Yeah.
It was the coolest toy I had as a kid, man. It lit up, it made noises. If I could get that again, that would be amazing. It would be so stupid, but it would be amazing. Cause here's the thing. I know everybody's love for every aspect of what a Batmobile could be. Because people who read comics in the 60s were like, oh, Batman just drove a sports car, right?
Yeah.
And then Batman, the live action show with the 60s Batman, I
drove a convertible.
Yeah, drove a convertible. Yeah. Of course, everybody loves Batman Begins, the giant tank, right? And for me, I love the elongatedness of a Batmobile. I don't know why. It just it's very silly in some aspects, but you can make a design that looks badass. So that's the kind I would want. I don't need it to be a normal car, and I don't need it to be a giant tank. Like, make it feel a little bit more comic booky, for sure.
Yeah, I actually like Affleck's, but it's still very militarized, and I don't like that. I think the reason why we're probably never going to get the elongated car anymore is because you can't drift in it. You know what I mean? So because he had a hook for a reason, right? Like that car had a hook so he could turn corners really sharp. Yeah. And I think it just doesn't work. What they could do is make a smaller version that like it elongates to maybe get lower that turns into the long version.
Oh, that would be cool.
You know what I mean? I think that's kind of how the Arkham one was kind of like. It could go lower, so maybe they do something like that. But with CGI, you can actually make that happen, and then it just looks like a smaller car. But I don't know. There's so many different versions of the Batmobile that you can make it work. But yeah, I don't know. I would definitely want like Capullo. I just looked up Capullo's. I'd have to look up Finch's, but I'm pretty sure they're very similar because I think they did an elongated one as well. But moving over to the YouTubes, Let's see. We got Young talking about, I think the Marvel DC crossover will happen after Marvel is done with the multiverse saga, because the only way to go bigger for them after bringing back actors who have played Marvel characters previously, like No Way Home. So I think they'll do it to get butts in seats. I don't necessarily agree with that. I feel like Marvel probably has the next 10 years planned out, even after the multiverse saga. Because, like, dude, once you get X-Men, that's a whole new universe.
Yeah.
If they do it right.
Yeah.
That first X-Men film that comes out is I'm either going to keep running, I'm going to go back to the MCU, or I'm never watching the MCU again if they fuck up that first film. But we'll see what happens. I don't think Marvel is anywhere near doing that. I just don't think it's going to happen. You don't think it happens in our lifetime. I think if every superhero movie starts bombing, then I think they do it. Only time.
Yeah, because then it becomes a live action version of what they would have had to do in the comics. Like you said, the whole reason why the comics crossed over is because they were losing money. If they start losing money in live action movies, then yeah, they will do the crossover for sure.
Yeah. Next up, we got Anthony Morales. For the Sinister Six, you could have said Electrocutioner as Electro. Completely forgot about that character.
The Electrocutioner.
Yeah.
Oh man, I would have to look up his design because
he was in Gotham. He was you never watched the show, but he was the guy that used to be the police chief. He ended up becoming the Electrocutioner in the show. So I think a lot of people probably remember him from that. But yeah, I guess we could have. I didn't forget. There's so many Batman characters. So many Batman characters.
He was I believe he played a small part in James Gordon's Batman story. Yeah.
I always thought that was the wrong casting in Gotham, because they could have made him Lockup, because he was a cop prior to that. And they could have made him Lockup, but they went with Electrocutioner for some reason. Moving on to Nathan. If Batman were targeted by his own Sinister Six, and they say Bane, Scarecrow, Clayface, Poison Ivy, Mr. Freeze, Man-Bat, I don't think that was our run, right? I don't think we have Mr. Freeze in there. Did we?
No, we did not have Mr. Freeze in there.
So he made up his own. Would he need the Bat family's help, or would he be able to take them easily given a little prep time? Yeah. Remember, okay, people need to remember this. Batman, it doesn't necessarily need prep time for people he's fought before.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Because of how experienced he is with the cast of characters that you have said, Nathan, Clayface, he has fought many, many times. Bane, many times. Scarecrow, he's put all of these characters in freaking Arkham numerous times. So like that, I guess that's the only and again, it's the same thing with Spider-Man with their Sinister Six, but like it would be their one crutch is that, oh, Batman has faced us all before.
Yeah.
He could beat us all again,
Yeah. And Spider-Man's got a little leg up on him because he's got Spidey sense.
Yeah.
So, like, he doesn't have to worry about it. Batman would have something in his utility belt to fight a lot of ththese people. Man-Bat, he could probably tie up with some kind of grappling hook rope, like, like the things with the balls. Like, what do they call them? Hog tie kind of things?
Yeah.
Like, he'll tie him up with that. Clayface, he probably has a canister of something that he can throw on Clayface to, solid him up. Bane, he'll just fight him straight up. Scarecrow, he just puts on a fucking mask. You got to also remember, too, imagine all of these people trying to go after Batman. There would be some crossfire. So Mr. Freeze would end up hitting Clayface or something like that. And Clayface would be like, what the hell, Freeze? And then he would probably throw something at Freeze. Ivy would be out there throwing her vines everywhere like a hentai. And everybody's be like, what the fuck, Ivy? And then, it would just be, all crazy. And Batman would just be in the rafters being like, these guys are dumb. They don't even know I'm not here. Because he would have dropped smoke. And they would have been like, ah! So, it would be just a fucking shit show, which would be fun to watch, though. Moncray, if you and Clay were allowed to write for DC, with the condition being Condiment King has to be the primary antagonist, would you take the offer? Why and why not? Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't I take that offer? You're going to pay me to write for DC? Because here's the thing. As much as we shit on DC TV and we shit on everything else, those people still have the right to say, I worked for DC.
Yeah, 100%.
And not everybody can do that. So, yeah, if you're going to make me write a story where Condiment King has to be the main protagonist, yeah. Is it probably going to be more of a comedy? Probably. But, like, yeah, I would take that in a heartbeat. I would be dumb to do that. I don't hate Condiment King, guys. Like, y'all need to really understand that. I just think he is a character that is for comedy purposes. He's not a threat. Like, he's just a goofy character. And I'm fine with that because DC, I'm really tired when every villain has to be sadistic and fucking crazy and I'm gonna murder everybody. I love Condiment King for being
because you get to the point where like, oh, is Deathstroke on the same level as the Joker?
Yeah.
And like it's just like those conversations are stupid. I'm sorry. Like you can't out crazy everybody. Like the idea of making it's the same idea. I guess it's a little bit different, but the idea that we were talking about how like Ghostmaker is like basically a god, the first issue he's a part of, and then now look at him. Like you put your presets of this character way too high, right? And the same thing goes for the evolution of a character. You compete these villains against each other all the time. It's like, oh, this one's better than this one. Oh, this one's better than this one. Oh, this one finally got better than this one. It's just like sometimes you just have to forget all that and just know that they're Batman villains. And you write them as Batman villains.
Yeah.
And Condiment King, although a comedic character, I think for those instances, especially in that of a Batman the Animated Series, sometimes you just need to punch out a silly character just for the laugh. And that's fine.
Yeah. I think that's solid. Also, I think Condiment King, you could write the story where he could become a hero that helps out Batman or a villain that helps out Batman for some reason, right? Like you could have the story where he just constantly gets pushed over. Basically, Tom King's Kite Man story, right?
Yeah.
Everybody shitted on him. You could do the same thing with Condiment King if you wanted to. He has that option. And the thing is, he could go from being somebody that people like because he's such a goofy villain that people will be like, oh, you did something good. Good for you, Condiment King. That's what you should be doing. And then he'll be like, huh, and like he could reconsider his ways. He could actually be a villain that you can reconform. You know what I mean? So like, or rehabilitate is probably the better word. But yeah, so there's that. Eduardo de la Cruz. All right. Am I okay? I am the who. I am the what. Who would win? Beast Boy versus Poison Ivy. Condiment King versus Ashley Graham. Damian Wayne versus Levi Ackerman. Okay, Levi Ackerman is beating the shit out of Damian Wayne. I am sorry. The way he destroys Titans and fucks everybody up. Sorry, Damian, you're getting your ass beat. Poison Ivy versus Beast Boy. I'd go Poison Ivy there. Who the fuck is Ashley Graham?
I just looked her up. She's the famous plus size model.
Okay, and this isn't the chick from Resident Evil, is it? Is her last name? Oh, her name is Ashley Graham as well. So she's not popular enough to be more noticed than the plus size model. You know what? If you would have picked Ashley Graham, the plus size model, you probably would have had a better argument if that's who you're going for. But I'm assuming because I'm playing Resident Evil on my stream that this and Ashley's pretty popular right now. I would say they're doing Resident Evil. Ashley, she has the umbrella virus in her. She could fuck up Condiment King.
Oh, that Ashley. I'm trying to think of like when you said Resident Evil, I thought live action movie, and I was like,
no.
Who? What actor is that? No, Ashley, like the Ashley that you're saving throughout the entire game of RE4.
Yeah.
I would have totally. Just because it's Condiment King, I would have said, yeah, totally. Just throw in a model in there for no reason. Yeah. If it is Ashley Graham from Resident Evil, I would totally say Ashley.
Yeah.
Even the supermodel, I think, would beat the shit out of Condiment King.
Yeah. So either one, Condiment King's getting his ass beat. But yeah, I mean, if you're talking about literally the Resident Evil one, she's beating his ass. Like, she's got that virus in her. Clay says, which of these would make fans rage the most? Michael Bay is revealed to be directing The Brave and the Bold. DCU makes a TikTok account. actors do cringe trends in costumes, Batman now canonically has a cuck fetish.
By the
So-
way, we usually vet these questions before just to see
Yeah.
how ridiculous they are. We did not have time to look at
No.
any of these questions.
No.
So our genuine reactions are our genuine reactions.
Yeah.
Michael Bay in the DCU. There was a time
Yeah.
where Michael Bay was rumored to direct a Lobo film
Oh, okay. Interesting.
with Danny Trejo attached as Lobo.
That's fucking the dumbest casting ever. I don't think Michael Bay directing The Brave and the Bold would be as dramatic as people think it would be. At least you know you're gonna get a lot of action.
A lot of explosions, yeah.
So I think that would be kind of cool. Honestly, I just think people would make fun of the Batman cuck thing. Like he would just be like Sneeko from fucking online shit, Andrew Tate fan. But for the most part, I honestly think the TikTok thing would be cringy, so people would talk about it the most. So
yeah, I agree. We have always talked about how the DCU in the future needs to like really work on marketing and play along with TikTok and YouTube and trends and shorts and all of these different things to have people talking about them, but that would be a little cringe for sure.
Yeah, I don't think that would work. The thing about like when you do something with Batman that would be like, oh, he's a cuck or whatever, it's only gonna like only a certain amount of people are gonna remember that, right? Like nobody remembers because, and it's only probably because I bring it up a lot, that Kevin Smith made Batman pee his pants because of an explosion, right? Nobody talks about that. Like, but I bring it up all the time because I think it's one of the stupidest things somebody's ever written, except for oh man, 900. But like, there's some Chip Zdarsky's out there. That's all I'll say. And you just don't want to be a Chip Zdarsky. That's at least not when you write Batman. But yeah, I think the TikTok thing would definitely be worse. Alexis Barrera, if Batman were to be a guest wrestler in the WWE to gain hype, which Batman, Bale, Affleck, or Pattinson would get the best reception? I don't know, man. I don't think it's Pattinson. I don't think Pattinson at all.
It's not. I don't think it's Pattinson whatsoever. I think if you put not Christian Bale, sorry. If you put Ben Affleck
as a wrestler,
in the Bat costume, like just rolling up, like just, I think that would be pretty intense.
That would be such a good like WrestleMania moment where it's like you have a baby face, right? Getting beat up by a bunch of heels all the time. And then they'll be like, come to WrestleMania and bring somebody or whatever. And he doesn't come with anybody, right? Like they should have done it in Hollywood because it would just happen this past year. But like he's just getting his ass beat and he's like, like nobody's here to help you. And then you just see the Batmobile come down the stage, like vroom, and then fucking Ben Affleck gets out.
Even better, I think it would be better if like you just see on the giant screen the bat symbol. And like, do you know how like some people's openers have like footage of like some of their matches or whatever?
Yeah.
You just see like the footage of like at the very end of BVS where like you see the security footage like pick up the security, like you have like that montage.
Yeah.
And then you just have Batman, Ben Affleck just rolling up in the darkness. Like that would be fucking hype.
Yeah. You could also do it just as like a cinematic match because they do those nowadays every once in a while. And yeah, just film the whole thing as a cinematic match and just have Batman show up. Like the lights go out, kind of like Undertaker and shit. And it's just Batman in the ring. Everybody's like, oh shit! Like that would be fucking crazy. But Ben Affleck's Batman is more intimidating than Bale's, in my opinion. So I would go with that. But that would be fucking hilarious. Jason Todd, who would you say serves best as the best Miles Morales counterpart in Batman? That should have been used more in games and media. Signal, Black Lightning, and Batwing.
No, he's giving us the choice. Is it Signal, Black Lightning, or Batwing?
I mean, well, counterpart. I mean, we've talked about constantly that they could do so much with Signal and they don't.
I think they dropped the ball with Signal hard.
Yeah. I mean, I like how Black Lightning contrasts Batman because he doesn't agree with him a lot of times.
Yeah.
So there's been some good stuff there. Batwing, who fucking cares? I mean, they shit on him so bad. They're like, oh, we're just gonna bring back your brother nobody knows about to be Batman.
And that's the thing. I think that DC wants Jace to
Mhm.
be the Miles Morales Spider-Man to Bruce Wayne's Batman.
Never gonna happen.
But here's the thing with that, okay? There was a constant relationship between Peter Parker and Miles Morales
Mhm.
from the very beginning to now.
Yeah.
There is no relationship between Bruce Wayne and Jace whatsoever.
Yeah. So much so that he left the city,
Yeah.
you know? And they still haven't done. Is that book still going?
From what I know, yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually surprised. Metallica, I don't think Metallica's been here in a while. How come porn doesn't use CGI? They
Jesus
always
Christ.
innovate videos for experience. For example, 1080p 4K VR. Why not CGI? Bro, first of all, where's the Batman question?
That was the thing. Like when we first started asking for questions, we made
Yeah.
it very specific in the Discord.
Yeah.
Hey, make sure that your Batman related questions are here in the
Yeah.
Discord channel or in the podcast channel. I think that's starting to
Yeah,
need to be a thing for
we need to reel it back in. But to answer your question, I'm pretty sure they use CGI. There's plenty of things out there. I think you're just not watching the right stuff. I'll say that.
I think you're looking for the quick fix and not
Yeah.
like the long form media versions.
Yeah. Because if you didn't know, a lot of that type of content sometimes is an hour long. All right, it's more than you need. If I'm not mistaken, before Justice League came out, there was a Justice League porn parody that was like really good. Apparently, like CGI, practical.
I'm pretty sure that like it made like a lot of people like. I'm pretty sure it was trending on Twitter at one point.
Yeah.
It was that big of a talking point.
Yeah.
Online. But yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. So I definitely think it's been done. Metallica. I think you just need to do some more research. Okay, Tiny. What if Batman Tool Place in Texas?
It took place.
Took place. Yeah. Okay. I mean, what city would they be in? I mean, is Dallas got the most skyscrapers? It would probably be Houston, to be honest. I think Houston would probably be.
I think it
near
would
the
be
water,
Houston.
kind of.
I think it would be Houston, but I think it could be argued for Dallas as well.
Yeah.
Just because, like, for people who don't know, Dallas, Fort Worth, they are actually two separate cities, but because they're so close and the population is growing immensely on both, they actually now consider it one place, Dallas, Fort Worth. But it used to be two separate cities.
Yeah. Fort Worth is we're just like, look, we're gonna keep your name around. It's fine. Nobody ever fucking considered Fort Worth its own city. You were always Dallas, okay? It's like San Marcos trying to be like, we're our own city. Fuck you. You're Austin, San Antonio. Like that's what you are. We both claimed half of you, and that's what it is. But I would not be surprised if in the future, like the way things are growing in our state, if like San Antonio and Austin merge at some point because it's growing so fast.
There was always rumors of San Austin, and then like I think there's still plans for like a giant train to
Southwest says fuck that. I fucking hate it. Although I just bought a Southwest flight, but they're the cheapest. But like they lobbied against that bullet train. Everybody could have jobs in different cities if they wanted to, if we had a fucking bullet train, but no. America, every great place people want to visit outside of America has fucking trains, and America's like, no, we want you to buy tires, so no trains. I'm like, dude, everybody bitches about not having labor. Nobody wants to work. I'm like, nobody wants to work in the city. Like, fucking make them go other places because of the train. You can go work in fucking a different state if you wanted to. If you want to take the train, like, what the fuck? Anyways, that's not Batman related. Although Batman scenes on a train, I feel like we need more of those.
Yes, we do.
You know,
but I would agree with the Jews saying that it would be Houston for sure.
Yeah, I think Houston. I think Austin, maybe in the next 10 years, because they are like building skyscrapers like crazy right now. I
Yeah.
think you need to have a lot of rooftops and stuff. But I don't know if I would want to see Batman just beating the shit out of people on 6th Street all the time. So like,
South by Southwest would be
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, the Batmobile ain't no Batmobile. He's gonna have a Batcopter the whole time because you ain't getting it through in the traffic in either city. To be honest, you're not getting through the traffic. Like unless he has a bulldozer on the front and he's just hitting all the cars out of the way, it's not happening. So, yeah, I would definitely think. But traffic is awful here. Why is there not? Why does Batman never get caught in traffic jams?
I think canonically with video games, the whole reason is because Batman is able to drive up the walls of buildings.
Yeah,
But in live action, we had Bale's Tumbler drive on top of rooftops.
that's true. That's
So
true. He definitely killed people on some of those things, right? Did he drive on like maybe he drove on like on churches and shit, right? Like people were like, oh, there's probably not a lot of people in there. But yeah, it's always funny. I forget. Bell's like somebody calculated like he killed like 26 people or some shit in that movie, right? He definitely killed that one guy in the dump truck. There's 100%. No way. That guy died. Super died. But anyways, I think that is all the questions we have for this week, ladies and gentlemen. Now moving on to comics, which we only have 2 this week. And let's start with, I don't know, let's see. Which one did you like the most? I read, apparently, because I was skimming through it. I was like, I feel like I read this. I read World's Finest, I guess like 3 or 4 weeks ago, because I was like, this seems familiar. And then I just sped through it. I was like, oh yeah, I read all of this.
Out of the 2, I think I enjoyed World's Finest more.
Yeah.
I think it just had a little bit more substance than Nightwing did.
Nightwing had some moments that I was kind of annoyed with.
Really?
Yeah. So there was one that I think some people would say was cringe that I thought was kind of funny. But I don't like how they solved the problem. It felt very Wonder Woman. And I don't want to diss Wonder Woman, but
okay, yeah.
But Wonder Woman's always like, Wonder Woman can throw down, but she's like, I beat you with love. And I'm like, this isn't Sailor Moon. Like, goddamn, fight somebody. So like, that's how I felt Nightwing ended. So let's talk about Nightwing. Nightwing.
Let's go ahead and jump into Nightwing.
Yeah.
Which has honestly turned into a Titans book for now.
Yeah.
I think it'll be the Titans book until Titans comes out later this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then Taylor will be able to solely focus on a Nightwing centric story. But of course, this does follow the same story that we have been following with Blockbuster's daughter. They're going to go into hell, find some information that they are needing, while Donna Troy, Starfire, and Batgirl take Olivia to the Mascara for protection. The first aspect that I think did not go the way Taylor thought it was going to go, because he didn't do anything with it. In the very beginning of this book, they jump into hell, and Raven puts blinders on the rest of the Titans because there's a lot of people suffering here. As heroes, you're going to want to help them.
Yeah.
But then he didn't show anybody wanting to be saved.
Yeah.
I think that was a missed opportunity there. Like, you could have shown, at least have Raven see, or like have people in the background like screaming for help or something.
Mm-hmm.
And because like she said that, but nothing came of it. Like there was nothing there for that.
Mm-hmm. Taylor's kind of known for that nowadays, especially in this book. Like, oh yeah, you have a sister. Oh yeah, where's the story? Nowhere. But yeah, so they go to hell, and it's just like a lot of like, not a lot happening. It's just like, oh, some making fun of the Neuron or whatever.
It's Neuron. It's very weird because like it gets somewhat politically driven. Like there's politics within hell. Like the whole idea of there being a computer database within hell, I think is stupid.
I think it is stupid, but I thought it was funny how they had it.
Yes, because they did pull off a joke that I think would be funny. I think it would be funnier in animation with it, and it didn't really pull off exactly the way it is,
Teen
but it did
Titans
give
Go would have sold this so well.
100%. But
Yeah.
I it did get a chuckle out of me from
Yeah,
this book.
so it is a old like tube computer with floppy disks and everything. And Cyborg is like, oh my god, I've never seen so many icons on a
Well,
desktop ever.
he was like, "Oh my god," and they're like, "What?" He's like, "There's so many icons." Like
Yeah,
you think that it's like like very disturbing news of
yeah,
information that he found. No, it's just a whole screen full of icons.
yeah,
And then he goes on and he's like, "Man, there's so many useless programs. There's
yeah,
backups. There's malware." Like he's naming all of these different things. Again, I think it would have a little bit more of a comedic punch if it
yeah,
was animated. But then Nightwing's like, okay, forget all of that. We're trying to find something here. Like, let's get back on track. Are you able to find this? He's like, oh yeah. Cyborg's like, oh yeah, yeah. I already found that. Yeah, cool.
yeah.
They go on to talk about how they are looking for Jezebel Jet.
Grant
We
Morrison's
find
one.
we find out that Batman and her had a thing. And that she is somehow connected to Blockbuster and this girl. I
Her
forget
mother.
it's the
Yeah.
mother of Olivia.
Mhm.
Uh and they're like, okay, well, in order for this contract to really help the Neuron, you kind of need that signature. Well, they did get that signature. So how do we fix this? He's like, oh, I think Earth politics
Yeah.
is going to help fix what's going on in
Yeah.
hell politics, which I thought was just ridiculous and silly. But we also get this side story in Themyscira where they're like, hey, we know you're powerful. We're not here to protect you. We're actually here to train you, Olivia. And she's like, oh, that's so cool. Yeah. And Wonder Woman shows up out of nowhere, but
Mhm.
it's not Wonder Woman. I thought this was really cool,
Yeah.
and a really cool visual because like she's like, oh, let's go ahead and spar. And so Olivia's like, oh hell yeah, like I can go all out with Wonder Woman, and she like does like what would be a very powerful punch, and then
Mhm.
Wonder Woman kicks the shit out of this little
Yeah.
kid. It's so fucking funny.
Yeah.
And like all of the Titans are like, Diana, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Of course, we do find out that it is the Smiling Man, Grodd, as well as Polaris,
Yeah.
all coming to grab Olivia. But dude, just that one panel kicking Olivia, I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, I thought it was so great. I find it funny when kids get hurt in comics and shit. Like, obviously, I don't want that to happen in real life. Although, when it does happen and it's caught on video, sometimes I laugh. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I saw that video recently. I've seen it a million times, but have you ever seen that big? It's like this kind of like chunky kid is driving a bike really fast down a street, and he runs right into a fence, and then
Oh
he hits.
yeah,
It, he's like,
yeah,
oh! Like,
yeah.
it's funny. I'm sorry. I hope that kid was all right. But like, yeah, so that shit was funny because I'm like, hell yeah, dude, that was awesome. And then of course, I honestly at first I didn't even think about it being like a bad Wonder Woman. I was just like, damn, I thought she was like mind controlled or something. And then it was that guy. I was like, oh, okay. But I thought that was fucking funny. Like she just straight up kicked her. And then the rest of the thing is kind of boring because then they go and they're sitting in an office and they're like, oh my God, Diana and them need help. Go over there. And then everybody leaves and then Neuron's like, oh yeah, me and, what's the name? Let's have a chat. And then it's just like, yeah, I actually adopted her. So you can actually make that contract valid. I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure the way contracts work is it's how it started. You just literally adopted her today. Like you were never her parent. How does this doesn't make any fucking sense. Um,
Yeah.
so really dumb. I thought that was it just an idiotic way to not. I mean, obviously the story's not over, but just an idiotic solution to something. Like you could have went to another person to like nullify that contract. You could have went to any other type of villain, or maybe even like go get Zatanna's help or somebody, right? Constantine knows about contracts and souls. Like you could have done a lot more here. And I
I
thought that
think
was just
that would
dumb.
have been really cool if they would have brought Constantine in.
Yeah. Because he would have, like, because then you could have caused more conflict, right? Where Constantine, he's like, I changed the contract. I gave it up for your soul. And, like, Dick Grayson's soul was transferred. And then they got to figure that out. Like, that would have been a more compelling story.
Yeah.
But again, Dick Grayson was like, let's go talk to my sister in the government. I'm like, how do we know she's your sister? Like, we still haven't got that story. And it's just like, oh my God. And then, what happened to Heartless? Like, what is happening in this story?
Yeah, I think they got a little too focused on the Titans thing. And I think this is one of our worries, was that this was going to become a Titans book. But I think they're just kind of setting the tone for what Titans will be, which I think is an okay thing, but you needed to tie in more of the stuff that is going on with Nightwing, because this essentially is Titans Volume 1 for the 2023 release. Like it's going to be very odd when you buy Volume 1 of Titans, probably coming out next year, and then like they reference stuff that comes out in this book, and it's like a full story inside of the Nightwing book. Like that within itself, I think is going to be a problem when it comes to people trying to pick up that book. But one thing that like kind of irked me was at the end of this book, Neuron was like, okay, I get you got me, but what if you had superpowers? It's like, what the like, again, it's trying to convince Nightwing to sign the contract or whatever, but it's like, you're not like this. I think this is jumping the shark. Again, it's a nice homage to the idea of where the idea of the name for Nightwing came from, with Superman, him getting powers.
Also the classic costume.
Getting somewhat of the classic costume. Yeah, I dig the look, but also because of the artist here, it just looks like John.
Yeah, I agree. Also, here's why they need to not give him powers, because the name of the next issue is called The Temptation of Super Wing. You change one letter in there, and it's Super Wang.
Yep.
Yeah. The next, The Temptation of Super Wang. Oh, we're doing hentai at DC now? Like, whoa. Yeah, Super Wing is a terrible name. So yeah, I don't know, man. Nightwing has been kind of weird lately, since about 100, I think.
Yeah.
And it's all the Titan stuff. Because again, what happens when you deal with the Titans? Everybody's got to go big. You got to be fighting the demons. You got to be fighting supernatural. Like, dude, you can fight normal people. Like, but everybody's always got to go big because it's a team up. They need an impossible villain. And it's just like, whatever. The backup story was okay. I was kind of hoping there was going to be more from it, but it was just kind of like a loving story. Like, oh yeah.
Yeah, like the cliffhanger that we ended on last time with like, oh, it was this woman, the mother of this family. Like, okay, that's a little dramatic. What's going on there? And what you find out is compelling, but like there was no real substance to it, unfortunately. Because again, we are still left off of a cliffhanger here. We found out about the rope, but we didn't find out about the bomb. And so we're back to square one. And it definitely feels like that, with the very ending being Nightwing being like, we need to look at your security footage again. It's like, oh, okay. Like that was the whole rope and the incident almost feels like it wasn't needed,
Yeah. And I get what they're trying to do here, to where like, it's just, there are times where coincidences happen, right? Like, yeah, an explosion happened, but also an accident happened at the same time, but they think it's connected. So I understand that, but I don't think it was done as well as it could have been. You know what I mean? Also, I really don't like the idea that Nightwing was testing John,
yeah, that was a little weird. Again, we understand that the idea of Nightwing training John is okay, but like I guess just the wording and how it was played out felt weird. Like, why did you need to test John here?
Yeah, so it was weird. I don't know. Nightwing, I mean, it's still readable. I will say that, but I will say that I do feel like the books just don't have much substance going on. And I'm still waiting about a bunch of other answers. I want to know about Heartless. I want to know about his sister. Like, I want to know about that secret compartment he has in the Pirate City or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
there's so many things that Tom Taylor hasn't like finished, and I'm just like, dude, when are you gonna do that? And I don't know. I don't like doors being left open a lot. But unless it's like supposed to be an overall story, and I don't know if he's trying to make Heartless the bane of this run, but you gotta include him every once in a while, I think. But I don't know. Anyways, before we move on to World's Finest, there were some other books this week as well. Decent DC Silent Tales was kind of cool. A book with no words in it. It was just all drawings.
Now, I will say this has already been released via DC Universe Infinite.
Oh, okay.
This is the first time that they will be releasing them physically. There are 3 separate stories, one with Superman, one with Cyborg, and one with Harley Quinn, I believe. Go check them out. They're actually really, really fun, and I do believe it's an ongoing series that are basically a series of one-shots. So I really, really enjoyed the Harley Quinn, and I really enjoyed the Superman one. So I'm a really big fan of them. I think everybody should check it out.
Yeah. Also, we're not covering Catwoman, but I did skim it, and I believe she is broken out of prison. She also made a cat suit out of prison clothes, or she was wearing. It was dumb because like she put a mask on that was like a Catwoman mask made out of prison clothes, but she's already in prison, and people know who her identity is. So like,
Yeah,
why put on a mask? Like,
it's like, oh no, it's Catwoman. How did she get in here?
Yeah. Holy crap, she was in here the whole time.
Where did Toledo go?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's like Clark putting on glasses. Clark, Superman was just here. Where'd he go? Like, it's so dumb. But anyways, a book that I'm assuming you read this. We've been covering it, the DC Dead Ungods thing. I mean, I just don't care for it anymore.
Oh, I did not read it yet. I
Okay.
was going to read it. But it did end. I'm kind of looking forward to it, but I think it's gonna fall on its face, unfortunately.
Yeah, so I don't want to spoil it for you, so we won't cover it. But yeah, I didn't like the ending personally. But I was already kind of out of love with the book, so I don't really care as much. But yeah, that was the other books, and let's go on to World's Finest. Obviously, art fantastic in this book as always. But what did you think of it? As for like where it's leading to, and like what we got at the end.
I enjoyed the cameo of Oliver Queen. More Oliver Queen, please. I say more Dan Mora on Oliver Queen and Green Arrow. Just completely love Dan Mora's art and his designs. I think I enjoyed this one overall. I love Robin's little like Batman moment here, where he like ties up the villain in, I believe they're in South America. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Oh, like where
they're in
like,
Venezuela, South America. Where he just like ropes this villain and like just kicks him off of a freaking cliff and holds him and it's like, hey, like I'm getting a little tired here. Like, tell me some information. Like, I really love those moments.
Yeah.
The narration from Robin of like how Metamorpho was like saving everybody, I don't think I really needed. I think I would have enjoyed the perspective of Metamorpho and Superman while they were doing the saving. But I understand the concept of what Wade was trying to do here. I like that moment. But the idea, how do you feel about this idea that all of the billionaires in the world have been captured and replaced with androids? How do you like? Because we find out that it is none other than Anthony Ivo, Professor Ivo, who is kidnapping these individuals and having all of their money basically siphoned into a offshore account of his. Very classic supervillain move type of thing. But do you think it's clever? Like, how did you feel about? Because the one big thing was that like Bruce very much noticed the way Oliver's like speech pattern was, and some
Yeah.
of the dialogue that he was using was not normal to Oliver
Mhm.
Queen. So like, how do you feel about how all that broke down?
Yeah, I don't mind it. I think Ivo doesn't get enough play as he could, in my opinion, because I mean, basically, he builds things opposed to being able to morph into them like Clayface. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And we all know that Amazo was one of the toughest villains Justice League ever fought at one
yeah,
point, right?
yeah.
So I kind of like that, and you would think that he would be able to improve on it. And so I don't mind. I like a classic villain every once in a while. I don't need the murderous, rampaging like Joker all the time, which does
Yeah.
get kind of tiresome. So having a classic villain doing classic villain shit, I'm down with it, especially in a book like World's Finest that is kind of more campy and like
Mhm.
old school. I don't mind it. And yeah, I think the balancing between like heroes and stuff is really well that Mark Waid's doing here. And I think he needs to stick to a handful of characters and not do what he's doing in whatever the fuck that Lazarus thing was.
Yeah.
Because that was just too much. He wanted to play with everybody. I'm just like, bro, chill. Um,
But the idea of him being campy, I think I am going to enjoy uh him being on Shazam. The
yeah, I think that'll
same
work.
the same creative team, Dan Mora and Mark Waid, are jumping into a Shazam book that's coming out very, very soon, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's gonna work well. Um, you had said, I think last episode, um, Mark Waid is doing a
Yeah.
lot, because in the same quote unquote universe, and I guess it's still continuity. He is doing Teen Titans World's Finest or whatever it
Mhm.
is. Also, not with Dan Mora, but he is doing uh, a Teen Titans run that is, I guess, I assume, set in the past, like this is,
Yeah.
because we're gonna get a younger Dick Grayson Robin with like the classic Teen Titans roster.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be definitely interesting. Although I just want to make sure everything's good. I just want the writing to
Yeah,
be good. I mean, I World's Finest so far. There have been some ups and downs, but for the most part, I've enjoyed everything I've read. And I think as long as I'm interested in reading the next book, that's all I ask for. I don't need it to be a knockout every time. I just want to enjoy what I'm reading.
yeah,
But like stuff like Undead and Nightwing, like Undead, I dropped off a long time ago. Same thing with Dark Knights of Steel. Don't really care where that's going anymore. Nightwing's starting to lose me, but I needed to get back to a normal Nightwing story. I like
yeah,
what he was doing with Barbara and Dick Grayson. Like that was nice. Like, okay, they're building some kind of relationship here. Oh, they're working together. Like, I think it needs to go back to basics. And like, granted, I like a team up book every once in a while, but they don't need to always be around. But it's funny that I say that because I also don't need a Titans book. Like I'm not going to go out of my way to read a Titans book.
yeah,
But it is what it is. But yeah, and then the end of this book is Dick Grayson and Superman go to check out this basically the Amazo lair, and they find out that Dr. Ivo has built a metamorpho kind of villain, and it can make kryptonite, and basically puts Superman down.
yeah.
So
I thought that was really, really wicked. There's a moment here. I really like the visual of like, there's these like android-esque skeleton bodies that are
yeah,
like coming after Robin and Superman's like, I'm not a child, like I'm not scared of these things. And I was like, oh, it's not for you, it's for the kid. Like
yeah,
I'm messing with his head, not yours. um and I just really love like the nuance, the dark like background, the purples and stuff. I really loved how all of that fit. One thing that we forgot to mention was that Magnus, the creator of the Metal Men,
yeah,
uh, is also name dropped here. We find out that Amazo probably, or not Amazo himself, but Ivo
mhm,
possibly kidnapped Magnus to learn about how he created the Metal Men to create
yeah,
his monstrosity that is now fighting Superman at the time. And Batman's like, okay, if that was true, why didn't the Metal Men stop them? And we see that the Metal Men are actually melting in what looks like lava of some sort,
yeah,
um, in these vats. So very, very intense stuff. Really liking the way this this particular story is coming out.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. And I've always said I like when a writer goes out of their way to bring back old characters and try to reinvent them, right? Or not even necessarily reinvent them, but just give them new life. So I think it's kind of cool. So this is the one thing that Mark Waid is doing that I do enjoy. Everything else, not so much. I didn't like Batman and Robin really.
Yeah.
But again, it's the magic shit, man. I don't think I'm just not a big magic fan. Like it needs to be very minimal for me to enjoy it. But when it gets into like crazy shit, I'm just like, nah, it's too much. Like I think that's probably why I didn't really like Justice League Dark too much. Because it was all magic essentially.
Yeah.
So wasn't a big fan of that. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this podcast. It is going to be a few weeks. I don't know if Clay will be reading 900 anytime soon, but it'll be a few weeks before we cover any of that. And I think next week we got like a book or two, if I'm not mistaken. But actually, it's only 2 weeks until we talk about 900, which will be interesting. But that is going to be it for this podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Clay, what do you got going on this week, man?
So this week, as the time you guys are listening to this, my co-host for Star Wars Alliance and I have reviewed the season finale for season 3 of The Mandalorian. So go check that out over at Star Wars Alliance. Gonna be quite a bit of a conversation there. Of course, go check out the season finale before you go listen to it. But that is pretty much all I have. Oh, and as us recording and you listening, of course, on Monday, I will have a review of the 30th anniversary special for Power Rangers up on the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. It should be the first episode on Monday that drops. So go check that out as well.
Noise. If you guys want to see me play Resident Evil 4 Remake, come check out my live stream on my Twitch channel or my reaction channel. We'll be streaming at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Maybe I might have to take care of my niece a little bit tomorrow, so it might be delayed, but expect to stream tomorrow either way. And that is going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. As always, he is Fanboy Clay. I am Juice Wayne. And remember, Batman is awesome.
News Weekly.